Shout out to our affiliates, VeVe Digital Collectibles. Join the future of collecting with VeVe, where the world collects. Whether you're a die-hard fan, a passionate collector, or new to the world of collecting, VeVe is your gateway to premium, officially licensed digital collectibles, comics, and artworks from some of the biggest brands on the planet, such as Disney, Marvel, Star Wars, DC, and many more. Check out the affiliate link in the description box below, or use the QR code that you see on the screen for $10 off your first purchase.
Oh my God.
Welcome. How's it going, Magic?
You look ridiculous.
What do you mean? Yo, we're doing Mufasa. And since I am King Disney, right? I felt it was fitting for me to wear royal attire.
Yeah, no.
I'm excited for this. This is you know what? It's funny. I didn't know how to feel about this movie going into it. I love The Lion King. I heard really bad reviews about the live action Lion King.
Yeah.
But then this one, I don't know. This one is different. But
So you liked it?
We'll get into that. But before we do that, welcome everyone to the show. This is From Toontown to Tokyo.
Yay!
Let's go. And today we're going to be reviewing Mufasa, the Lion King, from VeVeMagic and yours truly, King Disney. What was wrong with that?
It's not your name.
What do you mean?
Emoji. Not King Disney. No, sir.
Emoji, aka King Disney. But okay, so Magic, you had recommended this one, right? And once again, for everyone new to the show, we go back and forth. I, huge lover of anime. Magic, huge lover of everything Disney. Queen Disney. And we kind of mashed that up, mixing up animation, cultures, and, and talking about it. So today we'll be reviewing Mufasa, which was recommended by VeVeMagic. First off, I guess, what made you recommend this?
Several reasons. First, it's current. And I feel like lately there's been a lot of talk about live actions. People tend to not love them. I'm one of those people. There was a recent live action that came out, Snow White, which I think we all know catastrophically failed. Now there's other contributors that
heard really
led
bad
to that,
things about that.
but it's one that I'm not even interested in watching. And like I said in our first episode, like I'm easily entertained, so I don't hate live actions. But one of my biggest issues with them is that don't mess with something that we love, especially these classics. And if you take a different take or make a new story, I'm all for it. I want there to be a little bit more creativity from Disney in coming out with new live action movies. That being said, I'm really interested to see the Stitch live action. My favorite live action is Cinderella. That was the first one they ever did.
I didn't see that. But I've been wanting to because I heard really good things about
I
it.
recommend it. I thought it was beautiful, and it had, new layers in it that were different. Just sort of a different vibe and approach. It didn't stay true to the original story so much. But the reason I recommended this one is what I love about it is it's a new film. It's a new storyline, and yet it is going to characters we already know and love, and just giving you sort of more of a background as to how they came to be Mufasa in The Lion King. So I like that it was just a completely new and fresh take to a live action. So yeah, I just felt like it was timely based on live actions being sort of a thing right now.
You know what's funny about it too is I went in thinking, oh, it's a prequel, but it's not. It's like a sequel that goes into a prequel. Is prequel a thing? Can we coin that as a prequel?
It's a prequel.
I think so.
We just did.
Yeah, it's just a prequel. It's definitely a prequel. But it takes place after The Lion King. But Rafiki is telling a story to Simba's daughter, Kiara. about Mufasa. And once again, with what you were saying, like this is the first time this story's ever been fleshed out, right? Like there's no animated version of this, correct?
No, not that I've seen.
Got it. So yeah, for me going in, I'm like, I never, knew this. Yeah, and he tells a story between him and Scar, which, by the way, like, I know they
Spoiler
played
alert.
around. Wait, is it a spoiler though? I mean, like, I know they played around, and I was gonna say that I know they played around with the aspect of like, they didn't reveal Scar's name, but we all knew that was Scar. Like, you knew it was Scar, right?
I'm not gonna lie, it took me a minute.
Really?
It took me. I figured it out a little bit further down, but because I was like, he really loves this guy. Like, he really loves Mufasa. Like, this is the brother figure she always had. Like, that's kind of how I see it. Then at the end, and like, I think there's 3, maybe 4 times he says throughout the film that he has a secret. I was like, oh my god, duh.
Well, what about the scene when they first meet? Because that was the dead giveaway. They first meet.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah,
he
yeah.
like grips his claws the same way. This the signature scene in The Lion King when he kills Mufasa. He grips his claws. It's like foreshadowing, right? So when that happened, I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely Scar.
Yeah, I guess I was just thrown off by his name being Taka, and then being like, wait, who's this guy? Like, I think I knew, but then I just needed it to be like solidified, because I was like, how does he have some random name? I don't get it.
I feel you. So let me ask you this. Do you want to do the honors and kind of like breaking down the story, or, summarizing the story, or do you want me to? Or how do you want to do this one? I know last time with the anime, I kind of like did that.
Yeah, I mean, I can try. I may not be as good at it as you, but I can try.
I think you're going to do an amazing job. And Minnie is cheering you on right now.
Okay, cool. Let's go. So the way this film starts is that, yes, it's Simba and Nala, and they are expecting a baby. And so Rafiki and Timon and Pumbaa are taking care of Kiara. And Rafiki goes into this whole story about how Mufasa came to be king of the Pride Lands. And it starts off with him being a cub himself, very similar to the Lion King and his parents, and learning about, life and the land and this place that they all wanted to go to called Malele. And then he learns, he's like, I think they're on their way to Malele. Am I right, Emojii?
Yes, his parents are, they're on their way to Malele.
Yeah, and this rain hits. It's the first time he's ever seen rain. They've had a drought, all you see is desert. And in the course of activities of the rain, at first they're celebrating because they're finally happy that they're getting rain. It ends up flooding, and in a tragic change of events, he gets separated from his parents and drifts down the river to who knows where. And that's where he encounters Taka. And Taka says, he's kind of messing with him on the sidelines, like, hey, bro, like, what are you doing in the water? And the kid's like exhausted. And he says, like, I have a secret. And he basically says, like, you're about to die, bro. And it's because these alligators are coming to get him. And so Taka ends up helping to save his life by putting his claws into him and pulling him out of the water. And Taka's mother also comes to help rescue them. And then basically Mufasa has to learn, he has to earn his right into this pack, because they have a rule that there's no outsiders, like they're eaten. And their king is kind of mean.
He is. So, he's mean and lazy. But yes.
Kind of mean.
Yeah.
And so he basically says, the mother of Taka is like vying for, and this is also Taka's father, the king, which is an important note. So Taka's a prince, aka Scar is a prince. And so he says, okay, well, you got to fight for your right to stay. And if you win, then you're hanging out with the lionesses. And so what they have to do is race to this tree and back. And we learn that Mufasa is not a strong swimmer, which we already kind of knew based off of him getting lost at sea with this storm.
Yeah.
But they're racing and they're kind of neck and neck, and he would fall, but he'd catch up because he was known for being very fast. And on the race back, it gives me chills. I love this part. I thought it was so sweet. Taka says to Simba, I have another secret. And he looks at him, he goes, I always wanted a brother. And he slows down and he lets him win. And this story is so interesting because there's so much depth to it. Like there's so much depth that goes into like the hurt and pain of these two characters as brothers, and them both really vying for each other and really wanting to show each other love, but just, I guess, life and circumstances and privilege and all the things expected of them as individuals just all gets in the way of everything. But in doing so and letting him win, his father's furious with him and basically like kind of shuns him. And then Mufasa gets to stay and he lives with the lionesses. And in doing so, they teach him how to detect scents and like really hone in on hunting skills, which proves to be invaluable to him throughout the film. And the mother really takes a liking to him and really wants to encourage him to use those skills, and one day he will find his family.
But he low-key has like these superpowers though. Like I feel like he's like he's a super lion because he's detecting things that no one else can.
Yeah. So before I continue, do you want to say anything about like what we've covered so far?
Yeah, maybe
the bop. There's a bop thrown in there.
There is a bop. There is a bop. I want to say Mufasa's mother, right? That first song. And anyone that knows me, like, no, I love musicals. I love musicals, right? So when I listen to something and like the music just hits home, I'm just like, this brings back so many like memories of childhood. And that's what this was. I want to say real quick, the visuals on this movie, oh my God, I know why Disney is Disney. Like this movie was a masterpiece. Like visually, the animals look so real. A lot of it felt like it was an experience, right? And only a few movies have been able to kind of like make me feel that way, where I feel like I'm not only just watching a movie, I'm on a ride. Like Avatar did that. Right, especially watching it in 3D. And this movie, I felt like if I saw this in 3D, well, first off, even watching it at home, I felt that way. But I felt like if I saw this in 3D, it would give me that exact same vibe. I felt like I was there. I felt like I was in it's not a jungle, right? What is it? A Serengeti or where are they? Wherever they are in the plains of Africa. I felt like I was there. But yeah, like visually, it was beautiful. And then when that first song hit, I was like, I even text you. I was like, "Yo, this is low key a bop. This is a bop right now." And
that's another reason I picked this film too, and the next Disney film we review, because both of them are musically based, and you and I have a shared common interest in musicals and theater, and so I was like, I think he might dig it. Let's see.
Definitely did. So I thought off rip, like it had a very solid start. Seeing Mufasa and Taka interact for the first, it's funny because you see that youngness and like that youthfulness in Scar, where everything is kind of like more optimistic. Innocent, optimistic, right? But then you still see glimpses of Scar. Like you still see glimpses of who he would later become. And one thing that I think is good when it comes to storytelling is when you can take a character and you can either have them change for the better or you can deconstruct them. And I felt like this was a really good way to deconstruct the character of Scar, where it made you believe that the one you saw in The Lion King was this same cub that you saw at the beginning, while still like loving this cub from first meeting. So yeah, I thought it had a solid start.
And yeah, I guess I haven't seen it, but I guess the I Always Wanted a Brother song like went viral on TikToks and stuff.
Oh, it did.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm like, that song's catchy. I like it. It's silly, but it's catchy.
They had some catchy songs. There was one song that I didn't care for though.
I know which one it is.
You know do you know which one it is?
Bye bye.
Let's see. You did know which one it is. Yo, how do you know me? Okay. So yes, you are correct. That was the one song that I didn't care for. And it wasn't necessarily that it was a bad song. It was that it didn't fit in that chorus. Bye bye. I was like, what? Who wrote this? Who wrote this? Where did this come from? But
yeah, no. I think that's a critique from a lot of people about that song. It just isn't. It's like it was trying to be Scar, but like just weak. You know, Be Prepared is an epic song, and I think it's very hard to replicate a villain song like that. And so I think they were trying to go for something a little bit more playful, but it just came off as like kind of silly and weak. Like, it just didn't make sense.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that was my only critique in that area when it comes to songs. But overall, I thought some of the songs were pretty solid. Where are we at now? Okay, so he joins the pack.
So I can continue with the storyline. So basically, now that he's in this pack, he learns the ways of the lionesses, and he still is always, playing with his brother, and they develop this beautiful bond, and they get along great, and the king still is like not messing with Mufasa. But then I think he ends up sniffing the mother. I forgot her name, my bad.
He's catching it in the wind, but it like disappears. You're talking about Mufasa with his mom or his parents.
With Taka's mother, and then also getting the scent of a different lion in the mix.
Okay. You mean when they
when Taka's mother gets attacked.
Okay, by the white lions.
Yes.
Got it.
I think Mufasa ends up smelling that something's going down. Isn't that right?
Yes. He sensed that they were in danger, and his Scar is like following behind them. Yes. So he oversees what happens, and then do you want to go into, because this was kind of like
so basically he goes and he knows that the mother's in trouble and that there's intruder, and he goes to see what's up and obviously protect her, and they're together at the time, him and Taka, and he goes and he starts fighting, and it's two of these white lions, and she's coaching him along because he's never fought before, and so she's coaching him along on how to fight and everything, and then you got Taka over here that is like, I ain't ready for all this. And boy dips out and ditches his mother, his own mother. He leaves his mother. That's crazy to me. Like, has his, adopted brother guard her with his life. And so in the midst of that, they end up killing one of the lions, and the other lion runs away and runs back to his pack. So then you have a sequence of events, these two, different groups of lions talking about what happened. And you have, the king, Taka's dad, finds out, and they're, worried and everything. And Mufasa's saying, we have to get out of here. Like, you don't understand. They're coming. I can smell them. And he's like, what do you mean you can smell them? Like, that's impossible. He says, I'm telling you. And so he says, send somebody. Bet. And so the king says, okay, and sends off a lion. Sure enough, comes to be true, and they know that they're now going to be under attack. Meanwhile, he finds out because the mom comes up and looks at Taka and was like, basically like, how could you do that? And so the king now is even more disgruntled with his kid. Like, you left your mother? And so he's just basically shunned. Like, but he goes, you can never tell anybody about this. You can never let anybody know this happened. And is this where he tells him about the lie thing? I think it is, right? Because that's kind of a
he says that a king needs to have deceit, right? And I guess in order to be a successful king, you have to, be deceitful and things like that. But he pulls him over to the side to that. And it's interesting because this is kind of like, this reminded me, because even the scenery, like, it's dark outside, right? And this reminded me of the conversation that Mufasa had with Simba, right? When he went to the elephant's graveyard and he had this like serious like life lesson conversation with him, which molded Simba to be who he became, right? And it was like this, literally the exact same backdrop, the exact same scene. But now it's
like a
Scar.
very different
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Crazy,
it just kind of sounds down, and this is, I guess, part of storytelling, right? It sounds down how, like, the parallel of, even Simba and Scar kind of having the same type of conversations with their dad, but because they had two different, like, fathers, that advice shaped them to be totally, in complete different directions. But yeah, there was a lot of like
it shows you how your parents can mold you.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. But yeah, so he has that, and then the lions attack, right? Like they.
So then on the other side of things, you have the guy that goes back to the white lion pack and tells about what happened. And all these lionesses, they are all have like they're so keen with their scent and their senses. And he's trying to say like he did everything he could, and that king is like, you left my son to die, like you're okay, but you left him. And he's like, there was no other choice. And the women circle him and basically sniff him out, and they're like, no, you were a coward, like you didn't really do anything, you ran off. And so they basically kill their own, and somebody from the other pack sees that, the one that was sent, and runs back. And so now we know they're on the hunt because that king is ready for blood because his son was killed. So I don't remember how Taka and Mufasa were somehow a little bit separated, but the white lions come in, and Mufasa knows like there is no winning this, like we have to run, which I thought was really interesting. I'm curious if you have any thoughts about that he didn't stay to defend. Like he said, we have no choice, we have to lead, and they went on the run. Like that's what happened, right? Or did I misread that?
Yeah, no, he did. And I think that was just wisdom on his part. Like there's been multiple times where Mufasa kind of like was ready to fight, even in situations where it didn't make sense, because later, they're running from them and he tries to fight just because of his phobia of the water. But then in this case scenario, it was kind of like he was actually reasoning. He knew that, they weren't, and the numbers, he mentioned the numbers. He was like, they were severely outnumbered. Right. So he was kind of like, we don't really have a chance to win this. We have to, we if we want to live, we have to go. So another kind of like thing, foreshadowing like his ability as a king.
Right. Yeah. So then they're on the run, and he has that keen sense of smell, so he can basically know like if they're following him and everything, and they catch up to them at one point, and basically, Scar's telling him that he's got to like swim to get away from them. And of course, Mufasa has a spear of water, and they get to the point where they just basically have to jump off a cliff and swim for their lives. And, then they're just on this path trying to get away and everything. And they end up running into Sarabi and meeting Sarabi.
And Zazu.
And Zazu and Rafiki.
Yeah.
And I love that too. Like, I love that was a part of the story, that you're getting to meet these characters from The Lion King, but like their first meeting of all them as well. And learning who they are. So I really love that.
Can I say something about that real quick?
Sure.
So like one thing, and this kind of like goes with Disney kind of like having that formula of like stick with what works, because especially during this time, I got major Lion King vibes. Like, as far as with, Simba venturing out and kind of being on his own and meeting up with Timon and Pumbaa, which aren't lions, even, Nala coming in and into the mix. It was kind of like this ragtag group of multiple different animals coming together. And that worked obviously in The Lion King. And then you did see it work here too, as well, with Mufasa.
You're right, yeah. So then there's all these different things that are going on. I'll fast forward a little bit, but you end up realizing that Taka has quite the crush on Sarabi. But you also see that naturally she's just more inclined to Mufasa. They just have a bond.
Click.
And they just have more, kinetic energy together. But, I think Mufasa feels this sense of loyalty, maybe a little bit of guilt or whatever, that he owes Taka something. And so he's basically along the way like trying to help him like get brownie points with her. So he like tells her like tells him you should talk to her about this. And then they're trying to cover their tracks and everything as they're running away from these white lions, but they end up catching up to them again. And Rafiki goes up was it Sarabi that did the bee's nest, or was it Rafiki?
Sarabi.
Sarabi, right?
It was Sarabi. Yep.
Yeah.
No.
She was go get her.
Yes, she was. It was her because she told everyone to run.
Yeah.
And then she fell down. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So then she. So then in the midst of this bee's nest is like pack of elephants and
Mufasa was trying to talk to them.
Right. Yeah. So he was trying to like kind of get them on his side, right? And like, meanwhile, she's like, we ain't got time for that. so she like took control, and these bees go crazy. The elephants start stampeding, and it kind of like works out in their favor because it's just making a mess, but it's extremely dangerous at the same time. And she kind of gets knocked out, and Mufasa does everything he can to get to her and shields her and protects her. And the signature line, and he's like, "I got you, Zarabi. I got you." Oh, right. Yeah, his signature line, which was so cute how that played out like later on in the film. So yeah, he's like, "I got you," and he's like, but she's kind of like, out of it, knocked out. And when she wakes up, this is his way of like paying his brother back for saving his life. He's like, she said, "You saved me," and he goes, "No, it was Taka." And he's like, "Right, Taka?" And so Taka's like, yeah. That was me. Yeah. And so he's trying to like, be his wingman and like, help him find love and everything. And then, she starts seeing signs of like things that Mufasa says and everything. And she starts getting glimpses. And I forget what happens, but doesn't he say it again? That I got you, and then he says it to
Rafiki. So Rafiki, something happens with Rafiki, and he has to carry Rafiki, and he's like, I got you, and she realized that. But there was a few things, right? Because even with like Mufasa gave Scar the alpha about the flowers where she's from, right? Because he picks up on smell. And Scar came and, used it. He butchered it at first. He was like, "You smell like a duck."
That guy's got no swag.
Yeah. And he was like, "Oh wait, no, I mean duck flowers." But yeah, so she was thinking it was sweet, but there was something in the back of her mind. She was like, something just doesn't feel right. And, she got to know Mufasa. He was the one that had the keen sense of smell. And then, yeah, like you said, with the scene with Rafiki, with him saying, "I got you," then it all kind of like just clicked. And she's like, no, this has all been Mufasa all along. And he's probably just, helping out Scar with, with
and so she confronts him. And she says, like, "It was you," like, and they have like this, a song together and stuff. And she's like saying, like, "Just admit it, it was you." And so he finally admits it. And so basically they fall in love. He can't really help it. Scar witnesses this, and Scar's pissed.
Yo, he is
and
tight.
So this is when he like hears his father's words like echoing in his mind about like, sometimes you need to be deceitful to like make things work. So he ends up training them and goes to the White Pack and says like, and they're ready to kill him because they're like, "Oh, hey, we've been looking for you." And he's like, "Look, I can help you. Like, nobody can find them except me." And so they end up like working together. And then they finally they first make it to Malele, right? Like, or they're entering Malele as they're getting found out.
They make it in, and because he pretty much helps them track along the way. Like they're covering their tracks and doing a good job at that. They would have made it without, but Scar's leaving marks, right? He's leaving scars on the rocks to let them know.
With his claws, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, and then they make it there, and by that time, they're kind of like the lines have caught up with them, and they even reveal at that point that it was Scar all along, or I should say, what was his name? His real name, Taka, yeah. They reveal it at that time. And then obviously the fight breaks out.
Yeah, and so the king is like, "No, this one's mine. He killed my son. Like, let me at him." And so they start fighting, and they throw some punches and, fall down cliffs and things like that. And then Mufasa runs away and gets far enough away from him to go to like the top of a mountain and yell to, because now in Malele, it's like beautiful, it's lush, it's you've got harmony with all the animals. And
well,
so
that's the Pride Lands. That anyone has seen Lion King, that's where they are at that point. Yeah.
Exactly. I was gonna say that.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
So he's trying to, speak to all these different animals and say, like, I need your help. Like, we're stronger together. And they're like, bro, you just got here. Like, why should we help you? And I believe that Rafiki helps in this as well. And eventually, they basically, the giraffes are like, he's right. Like, we gotta all band together. Like, this is our home. And they just end up defending as a tribe and as a group and as a family all together to protect their home.
Also,
so go ahead.
I think that they were run out too, like especially the lions. Like they were hunted by those same outsiders because they knew who the outsiders were, and they were like, oh, the outsiders. So I think when he went to them, they already had a fear of these lions, and that was another reason why they didn't want to help, because they ran there to escape them, and now they're here, but they're only here for them, and they're like, well, we're kind of like scared of them, and they only want you. So, and then Mufasa, gave the speech, is like, well, once they take us, what do you think is going to happen to you next? They're going to come for you tomorrow.
They're coming for you next.
Yeah.
So they end up joining in on the fight, and but then Mufasa and the king, they go into their own battle, and they end up in this cave with water, and Scar is watching. Taka is watching the whole thing, and he's kind of like, I feel like you can see his sort of like inner tug of war internally, where he's like, man, this is what I wanted, but like, man, I'm not trying to get my brother killed at the same time. Like, I was just kind of pissed at him, and now like this has gotten like way too far. And so they're having this fight, and Mufasa's about to lose, and he's about to literally get killed, and Scar jumps in front, and the king slashes him, and that's literally how he got his scar on his eye. And so then you're like, wait, which side is Scar on now? And this fight basically ends with somehow they both get shoved into the water, or I don't know if Mufasa jumps in the water, which is like also like this interesting moment too, where he's again in this place that he fears so much. And this huge rock comes down, and he is able to shove the king away, and the rock takes the king, and bye-bye king, no pun intended. And
no bye-bye.
And then he's trying to swim to the surface, and he's like way down there. He's trying to swim to the surface, and he finally gets close enough, and he's not a strong swimmer. Like, that's what we know throughout the film. And he gets so close, and he's like, cannot get to the top. And Scar lunges in the water and hits his claws again into his paws. And you see him have
like
that
thinking about
it. Yeah. That man gave it some thought. And I'm like, he's running out of air. What are you going to do? But he ends up saving him. Like, he had this, feeling like in his conscience, and chooses to do the right thing. Meanwhile, also, there's one beautiful moment. I don't know, like, if it hit for you like it did for me. But meanwhile, in all this too, so Rafiki was saying throughout the movie that he has visions of blah blah blah, and like Mufasa's like, so have your visions like ever come true? And he's like, oh no. but there's one part where an earthquake happens, and he sits there and he goes, and the ground will shake. Like, it was like one of his visions. And so in the midst of this earthquake, which like helps with the battle, got like white lions falling down into, canyons and stuff like that. But what's the one thing that happened during that earthquake that was
so
like...
for that, it was when the rock fell, and you knew that you were in, you got the feeling going into it that you were in the Pride Lands, but hold on, I had to hit a yay on that. But you knew for certainty, like, because then the rock collapsed, and you saw the signature, that rock formation from the Lion King, and you're like, oh, we're here. Yeah. And I I think even the music was that. I'm not gonna sing all of it because it might get flagged for copyright. But like everyone know you know what I'm thinking. So I think that music hit at that time, and that was another thing. Like they had music from the original Lion King, like, but it wasn't. It was thrown in at certain points that were like supposed to trigger, those memories, which I thought was a really, really nice touch to it.
Yeah. The one other thing I wanted to point out, because it was another callback to the Lion King, was in the scene where Sarabi hit the bee's nest. Rafiki runs up and hides in the tree, or like is out of the way of getting stampeded by elephants.
Yeah.
And then he's hanging onto a limb, and the limb is like breaking, but it holds him enough so that he's okay. And then literally once when the dust is settled, it breaks and he lands on the ground and like kind of hurts himself. I think that may have been when
he gets the stick.
Yeah, that was when Mufasa had to carry him because he kind of like hurt himself falling from the tree. But that's when he got his
staff.
His staff, and he was like, thanks this tree, this piece of branch for saving his life. And that's what, I thought that was like another just beautiful tie-in to the original of like, little things, but like that was so clever, and I loved that little tie-in.
It was like Easter eggs, right? Little Easter eggs into the original. And I think it had a lot of that. I think it did a good job in balancing as far as nostalgia, but kind of still being its own thing. Because sometimes you have movies that lean too much into it, and then it just feels like, why is this necessary? This added a layer to like the Lion King lore that we haven't seen before. And while it still felt familiar and, had similar like, points right in it, it still like was its own unique thing. And I feel like the experience, because I mean typically I'm not really too much of a fan of the live action stuff either, but this felt like an ultimate companion or partner to the original film. And so much so, like, it's, what's crazy? It made me want to watch the other live action one, because I know that I guess this is supposed to be connected with that one, right? But because of the reviews, I'm like, can I just like make believe that this goes with the animated one and just mesh them together?
Yeah, and I think that's like part of my thing too is I think a lot of us have this this notion now, like we're sort of turned off the live actions, and I think I wonder if this film would have done better, or more people would have given it. I feel like a lot of people haven't even given it a chance. If more people would have given it a chance, if it was an animated, what would we call it? Prequel? What was it?
Prequel. Yes, definitely coining that. That is a new term you heard here. Yay! You heard it here first. Prequels. Yes.
I wonder if it would have been different if it was animated and like had the same like animation style. But I didn't for this, because it was unique. I didn't need it to be that.
Okay. But
also I was willing to give it a chance. And I went and saw this in theater, and I really, really enjoyed it.
Nice. So, I wish I saw it in theater. After watching, I'm like, this. I wish I actually saw this in theater.
I got the popcorn bucket too.
Hey, there you go.
So to basically finish the story, they win, and they determine that like, Mufasa, you are the king. And he's like, I'm not trying to be king. Like, we're all one. Like, I don't need to be king. Like, we're all here in this together. Like, we're all basically a family and a team. And I think it's Rafiki that's like, no, you have to lead. Like, they already see you as that, and you have to lead. And then like, the most beautiful thing is that he smells. He gets this whiff, and he's like, what is that? Could it be? And he's reunited with his mother, and it's so beautiful. His father didn't make it through, the whole flood crisis, but his mother was there, and like, they both said that they never gave up hope and all that. And so then one last, turn of events here is, Taka comes into the scene, and they're like, yo, you can't. Is it Rafiki that actually tells him, like, you can't allow this?
I don't know. I don't think because I don't. That doesn't
Robbie?
even sound like something that Rafiki would say. I think it was one of the random animals. I think it was a random animal that said you have to banish him.
Maybe so, but they said
I don't
like,
think
you
it
can't.
or no. I think it was Zazu. It might have been Zazu, because that sounds like very much like a Zazu thing to say.
I feel bad that I don't remember that, but yeah.
I think
so
it might
he
have
ends
been
up saying, "My brother will always have a home here,"
Mm-hmm.
but
I'm not going to call him. I'm not going to say his name again. And then
I'll
Scar
never say his name again.
recommends
And he
just call
says-
me Scar.
Yeah, he says you can call me Scar, and then he basically
Mhm.
like sulks off,
Yeah.
and that's where you basically see that. I don't know. I felt like at the end he still had this like love for him, but pain, and I feel like
Mhm.
it leaves you thinking that over the years it just turns more and more into
Yeah.
hatred.
Yeah.
But I don't
Just sitting
feel
on
like
it. You're sitting on it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't feel like the film ended with him being like, "F you, I'm
No.
gonna kill you now." Like it
You
didn't
know-
feel that way.
You
He
know
was
what's
more
funny?
ashamed. He was more ashamed.
Yeah, I still feel there was that resentment, but you know what? I would argue and say that even at the beginning of The Lion King, he wasn't necessarily ready to kill Mufasa. There was a resentment there, and this is why I think that whole scene with the whole like grabbing onto the claws, grabbing onto to the paws is significant, is because that happens twice in this movie and obviously one time in The Lion King, and both of those times he was going back and forth as far as what should he do, should he, and the final time he kind of like just does it. So it kind of like paints that picture of like him teetering on the edge. No, I don't do it. Teeter on the edge. No, I don't do it. And then here in The Lion King, he does it. And he's just like, long live the king. And it actually does it. So I think the progress was very, like, putting those two movies back to back, the character progression, or like I said, deconstruction, was really, really good. Really good.
So basically, the film ends with, Mufasa going onto now this ledge that we know is Pride Rock, and roaring, and all the animals, celebrating, and he's made his mark as king, and then it goes back to the storytelling of now the grandchild Kiara,
Mm-hmm.
and she's just like so happy, and then she's like wanting to see him, like I wish I could see him, and Rafiki does the like he lives in you, he's always with you, and she goes over to a cliff and she roars and she sees him in the cloud, he roars back at her, and then at basically as that ends, Simba and Nala come back home, and she didn't even know, but now she has a new brother, and
Hey,
it ends
let's
with her
go.
she's like basically saying like I want to tell you a story, but I think doesn't she say I got you, or
About a
am I
king?
making that up?
I don't know if she says I got you. I know she says I want to tell you a story
She said
about a
she'll always
king.
take care of him.
Yeah. But I don't think so. I'm not sure. But yeah, I thought it ended beautifully. I thought it was a nice kind of like circle. No pun, all puns intended, circle of life. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was great. I thought it was a masterpiece. I thought it was another testament of.
Masterpiece. Okay.
I will say that. I mean, visually, I thought it was a masterpiece. There were certain things, like some of the songs hit, some of the songs obviously, wasn't the same. I mean, the music for the original Lion King, Elton John, like
It can't be replicated.
yeah. But there were some songs that were kind of like a bop. But overall, for me, it was the storytelling and it was the visuals that got me the most in that movie. And I thought it did a solid job. I thought it was an excellent companion to The Lion King. If I had to give it a score, I'd say I'd probably give it an 8. I'd give it an 8.
Okay.
Yay!
Are we doing this? We're scoring every movie?
I don't know. You know what? I got into the habit of doing it. I got into the habit of doing. We don't have to. But it just felt right. I felt like I wanted to put a number on it. I don't know.
I still, if you're gonna make me score like every film, like if I basically like the film, but it's not like the best thing I ever say I've ever seen, I'm probably gonna give everything a 7.
Really?
I feel like
Okay, let's not score. Let's just start.
Wrong, but
yeah.
it's not the best thing I've ever seen.
I feel you.
I would say, I would definitely recommend this film to people, especially if you're a Lion King fan. I think you'll really like it. My harshest review is the music. There are a couple songs that are like beautiful, but that's the one thing you're not going to be able to do.
You're not going to compare it to
You
like
can't even
that
try.
is, yeah.
But in storytelling, visually, the film itself, really, really loved it. So I would definitely recommend it, and I think it's enjoyable.
Let's go.
I guess I'll leave it at that.
Let's go. There we go. There we have it. You have heard it here first. That was our review of Mufasa. So, what do you have to say before we wrap things up?
It was really fun to do a Disney film, and I'm really happy that you liked it because I was curious. I think I felt like you were gonna like it, based on knowing like our kindred spirits with musicals.
I feel like you kind of low-key know me. But at
the same time, I'm like, if you really don't mess with live actions, you're gonna have to be patient through it. So I'm glad you liked it. And yeah, our next Disney pick is also something very interesting, and I kind of want to do that. Like, I think at some point maybe we'll watch some of the classic things, but I think what makes this fun and entertaining is also things that maybe people have never watched before or were thinking about watching, and now we're giving them a glimpse into like, yeah, you should definitely go watch it, or like, no, stay far away. So I think it's gonna be an interesting journey, and luckily both Disney and anime have huge catalogs to choose from. So yeah, I'm just excited to see where we continue going with this.
Let's go. And once again, thank you everyone that tuned in, and thank you for joining us on this journey from Toontown to Tokyo. Peace.